Hey guys, welcome to BitBoy Crypto. I am your host, BitBoy. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple news stories and a couple pretty interesting debates. But before we go any further, make sure you are a subscriber to our channel. Hit the bell for notifications along with the subscribe button. And you are in the Bit Squad. As a member of the Bit Squad, you have the opportunity to win $500 worth of Ethereum and merch for October and November. You can get the full contest description below. All right, guys. We're going to take a quick look at the markets and the news and a couple debates. Like I mentioned, we're going to start with CoinMarketCap.com. As you guys can see, we're still at $209 billion. Bitcoin dominance at 53.7. This has been the most boring week of all crypto weeks, in my opinion. We look again here, and we will see that pretty much almost everything is within 1% in the top 10. You got to go to Monero, that's down 1.68% to find something that moved over 1%. Look at the biggest winners of the day. We have DentaCoin. I did remember to brush my teeth this morning, so the price did go up. A couple others. Ontology is actually up about 3%. It's had a pretty big candle. So really hoping that Ontology will get on board and start moving forward like I've been saying it's going to at some point. Who knows? Maybe that time is now. Biggest losers of the day, Ravencoin, still on a correction, as you guys can see, down 3.43%. It's really kind of leveled off after its huge gains. Basic Attention Token, kind of the same thing, has been on a pretty big correction after a couple good weeks. So let's look at the news. First, I had this tweet from Pomp I wanted to share with you guys. Pomp Liano. He's pretty big on Twitter. If you don't know, if you just are on YouTube and don't check out Twitter much, I would encourage you to go check out Crypto Twitter. You guys can find my handle below. I'd love for you to come engage with us on there as well. But Pomp had this talking about some different stuff, but I don't know why it's not in order. He put a 5 instead of an 8. But anyways, these are some of the biggest stories of the week. Back sets the launch date, which of course is December 12th. Singapore invests in Binance. I've told you many times, Southeastern Asia is going to be really big for crypto. China ruled Bitcoin as property. We talked about that story a couple days ago. Bitfury considering an IPO. Also news, Coinbase is pretty close to considering one as well. Coinbase now a qualified custodian. Coinbase adds USDC, which is their stable coin. Elon Musk tweeted about Bitcoin and then got his account banned. And then number 8, but he has it as number 5, Bitcoin less volatile than S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Dow. So those are some of the biggest stories of the week. I thought it was Sunday. We could kind of recap those a little bit. We talked about almost all of those on the channel this week. Another news story I wanted to share with you guys. As you guys know, Crypto Beatles is a good friend of mine. He is the president of Monarch. Monarch is the only crypto project that is an ICO that I have actually invested in my life. I don't invest in ICOs. I hold some because of some reviews I've done, but this is the only one that I've actually invested my own money into. And as you guys can see, they've got big news. A lot of you guys have been asking about this. They now have their crypto wallet out on Android. Now, it doesn't have the full functionality yet that it's going to have that the current iOS wallet has. But as you can see here, it says the Android wallet currently supports Bitcoin and Ethereum, but will soon accept over 1,500 ERC20 tokens, Stellar, Ripple, and True USD, which are already on the Apple version. Users hold their own private keys, making this application truly decentralized and safe for all users to store, send, and receive their cryptocurrency. You guys keep your eyes on this one. I believe, as I put my money where my mouth is, that this one is going to be absolutely huge. So you guys make sure you go check out that. I know a lot of people on my Telegram have been asking about that, and now it is out. So here we go. We have the founder of the web, Tim Berners-Lee. Here's an article about him that talks about where he says centralization has gone too far. They actually only, I believe, in this whole article take one quote from what he said, which is the web has evolved into an engine of inequality and division swayed by powerful forces who use it for their own agendas. As I mentioned, Tim Berners-Lee is responsible for the creation of the internet. It is not actually Al Gore like you may have thought or like he said one time. Of course, some people said that that Al Gore quote is taken out of context, but I like it, so I'm going to keep sticking with he says he created the internet. But so Tim Berners-Lee is basically talking about the centralization of the internet. We've seen, I mean, look at the top 10 companies in the world. So many of those are internet companies. Amazon, Facebook, Google, obviously. So many of those top 10 companies in the world are internet focused And they've really seemed to almost get a monopoly on the competition. Who would have thought we would see Amazon have a monopoly on retail, which is what it has turned into? I mean, when I was younger, of course, you remember you had a Walmart, a Kmart, all kinds of these different stores on every corner, and they're drying up. The internet has really caused that to happen. Amazon is only getting bigger by the year. Before long, as my friend Crypto Stash, I believe, was the one that pointed out, it looks like Walmarts will actually be distribution centers for drones in the future because all purchases almost will be done online. And so we've really seen this centralization of the internet. And he would like to see a new decentralization. And hopefully this will be done through blockchain. And then there's this debate talking about why would someone want to use Bitcoin instead of Monero? And I think that this debate really kind of goes hand in hand with that argument, because Bitcoin was supposed to be, right? It was supposed to be something that was untraceable, that people could now make purchases in a decentralized way, peer-to-peer, but keep their transactions private. And as we all know at this point, Bitcoin is now traceable. So this Reddit user talks about this argument of why would someone use Bitcoin that's traceable over Monero, something that is going to go even further to decentralize the web. And I kind of wanted to give my thoughts on this because I understand the Pandora's box that we have opened with Bitcoin becoming traceable. However, the thing about a Pandora's box is once you open it, you can't close it. And so unfortunately, I do not believe we will ever get back to a place where our transactions with Bitcoin will be private. And that goes for probably 95% of the rest of the cryptocurrencies out there. But you do have this 5%, which that's a generalized number. That's not exactly the same. But where basically these are privacy coins where you still can have transactions that are private. We have Zcash, we have Monero, we have Enigma, and some of these other privacy coins, Bitcoin private, that will keep your transactions locked so people can't see them. However, here is the issue. For us to be able to move to a place where most people would use those privacy coins, that means that retailers would have to start accepting privacy coins. And unfortunately, there's just too many questions with regulation. I've said so many times before that I believe privacy coins will always be around because there will always be a reason for some people to want to keep their transactions private. Now, just because they will be able to use those does not mean that retailers will ever be to the point where retailers say, okay, regulation comes, they says these privacy coins are banned, but you know what, in the meantime, we'll accept them. I just don't think that's ever going to be the case. So while we are for this movement of decentralization and we want to keep our purchases as private as we can, unfortunately, the key is going to be the people that accept these coins, not the people who buy them, hold them, and are willing to purchase with them, if that makes sense. So that's why I believe that privacy coins will have their niche, but they'll never be the dominant coins. So lastly, here is this last debate, which is another debate that's been going on Reddit, which is Bitcoin will never be used as a currency. Now, the argument goes something like this. There's already so many Bitcoins that are out of circulation that eventually we'll lose all the Bitcoins. Well, first of all, of course, as you know, Bitcoins have what are called Satoshis, which go 8 decimal places, which are the smallest fraction a Bitcoin can be divided into. So even if we are missing millions of Bitcoins out of the 21 million max supply that won't be reached until way later, like I believe 2140 or something like that, the Satoshis themselves will grow in value. So even if we're missing those, we will still have Bitcoin as a potential currency because of how many fractions it can be divided into. So the thing about our current financial system and our current currency in the United States, with the US dollar specifically or with the euro, is these things are not actually backed by anything. With the US dollar specifically, it can be printed at will. There's actually some people that say, and I don't know for sure, but it actually costs us more money to print not to print pennies, but to make pennies than the value of the pennies themselves, which is totally insane. So it absolutely makes sense for us to move to a digital currency. And Because of this, I believe that Bitcoin can be used as a currency. Now, will it be used as the world currency? Like I've said many times before, I believe it will. Well, that's still up for debate. There was a recent article, and I can't find it right now, but talking about how while in the United States or some other larger countries, it may not make sense for Bitcoin to be the currency that they use primarily, it does make sense in about 2/3 of the world's countries where it actually does cost them more money to print the money than the money is worth itself. So that's another strong fact that I believe lends to the idea that Bitcoin will become currency in at least a large portion of the world. Now, the other argument regarding this is that some people are saying, well, it may not actually be a currency. It will still be used as something that's like a collectible or something that's valuable, such as gold or silver. The Bitcoin will more fall into that class, where people will never use it as a currency directly, but it will be something that they will use to hedge against economic collapse. So I don't know if that's the case either. I think that really is going to boil down to one of those two things. I don't think there's a lot in the middle for Bitcoin. I believe in its future. So I think at minimum, it's going to be compared to something like gold. And I think at maximum, it's going to be the currency used in a lot of the countries in the world. So those are my thoughts on that debate. You guys let me know. Let me know below what you think. Do you think Bitcoin will be the world currency? Do you think it will be more something like gold? Or do you think it'll be something else? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. BitBoy out.